Let's talk about Malzahn and the direction their quarterback situation is going, and get your thoughts on Auburn.
Hey guys, we're on the map today. This is Bo Williams
and Chad Bullock.
What if I was the one to tell you that the fight's already been won? Well, I think your day's about to get better.
Malzahn's best offensive teams are when he was running the show. But also, too, I've always noticed this about Malzahn and his offense. He needs certain kind of players. He needs certain kinds of players.
Running quarterback.
He needs a running quarterback because their offense is pretty much one of two things. They're going to run the ball or play action and look for shot plays. There's really nothing intermediate. There's not a lot of screen game. There's not a lot of variation in the offense. So it's when he has those pieces, he's pretty good. But when he doesn't have those pieces, he has a real hard time adjusting to be able to do anything else. So he's supposed to be taking back over the offense this year. It'll be interesting to see if they get back to that old mix of going even faster, because it seems like with Stidham, they slowed down a lot more. And there was a lot more downfield throws, but again, if they could have had anything intermediate with that guy in that 10 to 15 yard range, right, they could have consistently, I think, moved the sticks more. But
I think he could run just enough to kind of keep the defense honest.
Yeah, he's a good athlete.
Yeah, no doubt. Especially 2 years ago in Auburn, he ran. I mean, he ran for what, 70, 80 yards against Alabama, touchdown, maybe two running. Yeah. So he was a good athlete. With Malzahn, he also needs that receiver that can stretch the field. I don't know if you remember the 14 Iron Bowl when it was like a tennis match going up and down the. Yeah. He had two dynamic receivers, and then you had Marshall who could throw the ball up, and you had two receivers that could go catch it. Yeah. And that's what gave Alabama tons of problems.
And also too, I've kind of noticed this the last couple years too. If you watch their offense, that H position, that kind of wing tight end, he's not really a tight end. He's not really a fullback. Yeah. But I always call him he's a joker because he's a wild card. He's a wild card because that guy's going to have to catch the ball out in the flat. He's going to have to lead block at the point of attack. He's going to go in motion. He's going to have to set the edge in the run game. And if you watch that, the last really good player they had like that, I forget the young man's name, plays for the Houston Texans now. I think it was the kid from UMS.
I know you're talking about. I can't think of his name either.
Okay,
I know you're talking about.
But they have not had that good piece at that wing, that H position, in the last couple of years too. And their run game has also kind of has struggled.
And hey, and it's funny. Alabama had a guy like that 6-7 years ago. Anybody remember Brad Smelly?
Oh yeah.
What did he do in that Iron Bowl? 6 catches, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, something like that. Absolutely torched them out of that kind of position.
But because he's the guy, he's the guy that you say, we're not worried about him. We can't let this guy beat us. Yes. And we've got to defense this and defense that. Okay, fine, you take that away, Guess what? This guy's still good enough. And see, those are the kind of guys that Auburn has had at that wing position. They hadn't had him in the last couple of years. Who was the young man that from Auburn caught the wheel route in the Cam Newton game?
Ludson-Kirken,
yeah. In my opinion, everybody wants to talk about Cam Newton. He was the most valuable player of that offense. Yeah. He was the guy that led the point of attack. You watch their big runs. You watch that offense go, and it's him. A lot of times they would take him. They would say, put him in motion from their left to the right, and then they would go counter back to the left. So he'd motion, come here, then have to come all the way back and either kick out or turn up. And he was the guy that was always leading the way. Every year since Malzahn has been there, people say, "Oh, Auburn's going to be so good. Oh, they're going to." They end up going 6-6 and going to the Poulan Weed Eater Bowl. But
Weiser-Lock Copper Bowl.
Weiser-Lock Copper Bowl, something like that. But point is every time the expectations are low for Auburn, they usually far exceed what everybody says. So I would firmly expect. And again, just going back to their bowl game and the way they finished, that was just a total demolition. They could have scored 200 points in that game against Purdue. Yeah. they started running the ball just to shrink just to run clock.
And then if you want to go back to their quarterback, would they bring in? Was it Wallace?
Well, look, I've sat here at this table and we've talked about quarterbacks, and they seem really big. They seem really high on this. What's his name? Gatewood. He's an incoming freshman. He's big. He's fast. They think that he's Malzahn's kind of guy.
Wasn't Jeremy Johnson the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't mobile at all, though. I never saw the guy had a good arm, but he didn't fit the offense. Honestly, he would have been better in Bama's offense.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Where he could have actually maybe gotten under center, handed the ball off, gone some play action, worked one side of the field. Because that's one of the things I learned about doing play action. You're only going to look at one side of the field, and if it's not there, you're hitting your check down. It's real simple. So as opposed to going into Malzahn's system where you're having to do all these reads and fakes, and it can it just might not be a good fit.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of. I mean, I know they need a mobile quarterback with brains, but I mean they get one or the other normally.
I'm just glad Jalen didn't end up going to Auburn.